So what exactly happens during sleep anyway? What exactly is the brain doing?
James Cahoon is a former insomniac who has cured his own insomnia. He is not a doctor, nor is he a licensed practitioner of medicine. The material in this video is meant for informational purposes only. Consult your physician before making any decisions based upon this material.
So there are literally thousands of medical professionals and neuroscientists that have been working on the answer to this question for a long time. And they know many things about the process of sleep and what's going on, but no one really understands exactly what the brain is doing and why. It's like asking, how's your experience of consciousness formed? There's really no complete answer to that. In fact, I've heard some of the greatest thinkers say that we won't fully understand the human brain for at least another 100 years. Well, the good news is that we don't really need to know anything about what happens during sleep to improve it. In fact, sleep happens when you're unconscious, so it wouldn't really matter if you knew how to do it better, would it? I mean, if you think about it, everything that goes on during sleep is when we're asleep. So, we don't really know anything about it, but we do know the key ingredient to making it work, which is slow brainwave speed and smooth sleep cycles, essentially. So there's many sleep centers around the world that have monitored literally thousands of patients now. And there's absolutely no question that for sleep to happen, your mind must slow down and your sleep cycles must be smooth. And, it's similar to freezing water to make ice. If we lived in a time before it was understood how ice was created from lower temperatures, we'd still know the simple fact that the colder the air is, the faster the water turns into ice. With sleep, we know that the easier our brainwaves slow down, and the slower they stay, the more our brain can do its thing at night. The problem chronic insomniacs face, especially with those who can't fall asleep or can't get back to sleep, is that whenever we try to fall asleep, we actually prevent sleep from happening. Since we're trying to achieve a result, our brain speeds up, and it basically is just trying to do what it tries to help us do during the day with anything else we do. So, if you're thinking about trying to hit a deadline for a project or for, homework assignment, if you're taking a test, if you're going to a meeting, anything like that, that we get serious about achieving a result, and our brain's going to speed up to help us out. And the problem is sleep works exactly the opposite way. So the big mistake that stops most insomnia remedies from working is effectively the same thing. You're still trying to achieve sleep, and so your brain will still speed up to assist you, especially if it's an important thing. If you've been having a problem with sleep for a while, it's going to be a lot harder to make something work and actually put you to sleep. So if you're using, something that is even designed to slow down the brain, like a relaxation technique, even that, you're still got an end goal, something you're trying to achieve. So even if you get relaxed and feel really laid back and comfortable, deep inside there, it's still speeding up. It's still trying to help you focus and get something done. So it stands to reason that if you approach anything with the idea that it's going to create a result, you're only going to speed up the brain even more. So that's what makes the SelfTherapeutic method so different. And if you just think about that word therapy, by the definition that it's something about like relieving tension or rehabilitation, like relaxing on a tropical beach is therapeutic. In that definition, there's nothing about the result there. There's no end goal. It's just about the process itself. When you're relaxing on a beach, it's just I want to relax. I enjoy what I'm doing. There's not really a goal of like get XYZ amount relaxed. It's just, I'm going to go relax on the beach. Now, before we go any further, I need to make sure you're aware, in case you're new to my content, that I'm not a therapist or a qualified physician in any way, and this content shouldn't be looked at as medical advice, treatment, and certainly not as therapy. And if you want to use anything that I'm saying here in that way, you should consult a professional. I'm just talking about, essentially a set of qualities here. And if you imagine your sleep as it currently is and you're thinking about the different qualities, we can kind of use like an analogy, literally like if you're trying to control a environment, a good analogy for that would be a greenhouse. That's literally how we control environments to grow plants, right? So let's say you want to grow some humid jungle plants, but you have a greenhouse that's set up for very arid desert plants. So it's a very arid desert type environment, and you want to grow humid jungle plants. It's kind of like how your sleep's currently set up. You're in an environment that's terrible for sleep, and then you're trying to do things that create sleep. So if you were thinking about, and in this example with the plants in the greenhouse, you're going to see that the plants, obviously aren't going to be growing so well, and you could try getting different techniques, or in this case, different plants, and keep trying to grow them. But as long as you're trying to grow jungle plants in a desert environment, it's not going to work. No matter how well you plant them or how many different species you try, nothing's going to survive, right? So, do you think you'd ever find just that one right species that might grow in that environment? I mean, like maybe that could be possible, but that would hardly be the point, right? So the plants themselves might be what you want to grow, but they're only going to grow once they get like the water and humidity in the environment right. And you can kind of think of water and humidity in this example as self-therapy. So water is essential for life, but it's not life itself. And in the same way, self-therapy is essential for creating slow brainwaves, but it is not a sleep technique itself. It's something you have to kind of set up and monitor closely as you use sleep techniques. It's sort of the way of being or the environment you operate inside of. It follows then that the first step to create easy, deep sleep is to create a therapeutic environment. So to achieve this, we'll start by examining how it works. The way a therapeutic environment creates slow brainwaves is by essentially giving you a sense of feeling protected and safe. So when you think about the roots of humanity and sleep, it starts making a lot of sense what I'm talking about when I say protected and safe. So 10,000 years ago, if you felt alone, trapped, or helpless, it most likely meant that you were in physical danger. When you fell asleep, a predator could ambush you without any resistance. So it improved your odds of survival if you needed to feel safe to fall asleep. And the unconscious mind doesn't necessarily understand instinctively physical safety, it just understands the feelings of comfort that come with it. So your unconscious mind doesn't understand that like your house protects you, and because 10,000 years ago, mankind lived in tribes of usually between 50 and 150 people. So your unconscious mind felt safe when you were most connected to others. When you felt alone and abandoned, sleep was light, because back then that meant you were unprotected. So to fall asleep safely, you have to feel safe, sound, and connected to others, not agitated and alone. And obviously times have changed, but we haven't. So it makes sense that today, if you can start feeling secure and comfortable, you'll fall asleep much faster and more deeply. So for an example here, if you were to take a pill with kind of the normal judgmental spirit, you might wonder if it's working, you might worry or think too much, and you might otherwise do things to, try to get that result of sleep that would counteract the effects of the pill by speeding up your brainwaves. But if you took a pill and then cultivated a therapeutic attitude, you'd forget all about the pill and you just focus on compassion and comfort, allowing your brainwaves to slow down and the effects of the pill to work. The point of view is that of a healer, of a listener, or of a comforter. It's being your own best friend. It's someone who accepts your flaws, who understands that you can't always be perfect. It might not be about protection per se, but those qualities are the same ones that were used in the people who protected your ancestors 10,000 years ago. So to use the self-therapeutic method, you'll want to approach yourself little by little as a listener to your own mind, to be your own friend. Sleep professional Dr. Hogg mentions this methodology in his book. The book is called I Want to Sleep, Unlearning Insomnia. So to quote him, he says, contrary to popular belief, therapy has often little to do with finding answers and even less with analyzing unconscious causalities. It has more to do with the primeval relief of finding oneself no longer alone. We need someone to talk to help let go of our fears. Listening to the plea of your sleep-deprived, tired self and saying, I am right here, what can I do for you? It lightens the scariness of being alone. And that is something you can do for yourself. Finding something or someone to love almost invariably alleviates insomnia. Feeling abandoned, trapped, and alone almost always brings it on. So before you can start using sleep techniques in a therapeutic way, you must first become therapeutic. You'll need to discover what it's like to be this way, and you have to actually get into it and discover it for yourself. There's a lot of material out there for doing this, and I talk about it in my videos, but a good place to start would be to read up on self-compassion or actually to get coaching from a real therapist. So, if you already have a therapist, you can kind of look at what they do and then do that to yourself. Or you can actually kind of analyze what the qualities are of a really supportive friend. So if you've ever been really supportive to one of your other friends or to a family member, you can actually look at, really carefully what you're like when you're doing that with them. Or if you have someone that does that for you, you can look at the qualities of what they're like. And you'll get, a good number of them. Okay, so it's really important because becoming more therapeutic with yourself in general will also deeply improve the quality of your sleep. It's not just about making sleep happen, it's about getting brainwave speed to stay slow and smooth throughout the night so you get those smooth sleep cycles. And essentially prevent fragmented sleep from happening, which is the cause of all sleep problems. And that's something I covered in my other video, the downward spiral of insomnia. So by using a technique in a therapeutic manner, you'll stop judging how well you're doing, you'll take it easy, and you'll disconnect from the result and instead start practicing the technique just for the experience and habitual thinking that develops. So it's more like you're working on a habit than you are trying to achieve a result. So, in other words, you'll stop trying to fall asleep and you'll focus on building the skills that make sleep happen. Since the secret to falling asleep is kind of counterintuitively in trying to stay awake, it turns out that this approach actually works better for putting yourself to sleep. And if you're confused by that last bit, because I know if you haven't seen some of my other videos, that's unpacking a lot right there. The whole secret to falling asleep is in trying to stay awake. There's basically in some other videos that I recommend you watch because it's a huge piece of the puzzle that you'd be missing. So I covered this in my video called What's the Best Cure for Insomnia? And I'll have a link right over here for that one. And if you have issues with falling asleep or falling back to sleep, this concept is absolutely crucial, so definitely check that video out if you can't fall asleep or fall back to sleep. So as it turns out, the self-therapeutic method isn't just about creating slower brainwaves. It's also a fundamental element required to make sleep less important. And one way or another, you must learn how to create slow brainwaves to create easy, deep, refreshing sleep. So, I'll have more videos that get a little bit more into how to actually use the self-therapeutic method, and I'll start having another series soon called the self-therapeutic method, so we can get into that a little bit more. But I wanted to make this video to sort of introduce everyone to that concept and at least point you in the right direction for now. Thanks for watching. I'm going to be making this video the beginning of a new video series following the self-therapeutic method, which will be organized into its own ST method playlist. And I'm not a doctor, so this shouldn't be taken as medical advice. But if you want to cure your insomnia, it's only possible if you take time in between these videos and apply what you're learning to your own life. So the action I recommend that you take between now and the next video is to identify one piece of self-criticism or some inner dialogue you have that's going on that's basically critical, like where you're criticizing yourself, and come up with some sort of self-therapeutic response, especially if this thought is related to sleep. So some kind of thought, inner dialogue, something going on that is critical and related to sleep. So you might take a statement like one of these, like, I hate being tired, or there's nothing I can do about my sleep, or going to sleep is miserable. Or it could be any statement that begins with, if I wasn't so tired, or if I only got more sleep. Then once you have a statement like that, pretend you're responding to a friend who's coming to you with the same kind of thing that you just said, and come up with a one-liner that you would say to them to support them. So simply put, how would you respond to a friend who said that to you? Especially if you're trying to comfort them. So maybe it's just like, sorry, that's tough, or don't worry, it's only temporary, or you'll get through it, I believe in you. Something like that, whatever you would tell a friend. And once you get something, write it down and practice saying it to yourself whenever that particular piece of criticism comes up. So that might feel a little awkward at first, but on a subconscious level, this will start slowing your brainwaves down a little bit at night, because you're going to be a little bit more calm and a little bit more comforted just in general around insomnia. And so that's going to be a really impossible to detect small effect at first, but it's going to build with time, and we're building a new skill here. And it's going to put a new way of thinking into motion that will begin to improve your sleep. So I'll see you next time. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please help out by pressing the like button and subscribing to the channel. It makes a big difference in helping me spread the word. Thanks for watching.